We find ourselves in a very interesting time to be alive, in a very interesting time to see the world just go into oblivion. Those of us that are old enough, we remember a time where life felt totally different than what it feels now. You know, like the world now just feels like a living hell. Everything, everything requires money. Everything's based on money. Everything's based on these artificially created constructs, and it just seems like it's all there to break you down and to make you feel powerless. It's hard to feel powerful in a world that's designed to make you feel small. It's designed to treat you in a way that is totally disrespectful, totally just unbelievable, and totally just affront to your own personal causes and inspirations. A lot of us, we want to be able to just elevate in life. We want to build new type of plateaus. We want to see our own happiness just manifest instead of being depressed, being stressed, and being trapped in this net of oppression. And it really hurts when you're somebody that's been down and out for a long time and all you wanted to do was win. All you wanted was victory, but all life has ever handed you was defeats and defeat. Pretty, beautiful girls, you see them all the time. You see them all around you. You see them when you go to work, at work, come home from school or in school or whatever. You see beautiful women all around you, but you can never have them. So the only time you can't have a beautiful woman is, behind a phone screen or computer screen, looking at her most intimate parts as you engage in adult activities. And it's ridiculous. It's brutal because you only have one life. We really don't know what happens after this ends. We have our speculations, we have our theories, but we don't know. There's no solid proof, no solid evidence. This could be the only thing that we have. And if that's so, it's absolutely brutal that some people can never ever have a real relationship with a female, can never ever have real love or validation, can never really have that type of attention. And to be a human being, you need that love. But the problem with this world is it destroys the love. It puts you around people around you who don't like you. It puts you around certain situations and events and scenarios that are designed to drain you. So it's very difficult to try to gain any type of confidence to reach accomplishments. It's very difficult, especially when you're somebody that suffers from psychological issues, psychological pain. You suffer from emotional degradation. You suffer from years of isolation, and you suffer from a lot of other type of precarious situations, especially economics. And economics is the fundamental pillar of everything. If your economics is bad, your mental health is probably going to be bad as well. And it correlates and it coordinates. I truly wonder how different it would be for people in our position or if the world would just stop playing by its evil rigged game. And people like us who have talent or we have certain dreams or attributes, and we're able to just focus on those things, and it just builds up and we become successful from it instead of struggling, instead of going through this and that. I wish it was like the pleroma. I wish like anything you can think and imagine can just instantly appear. And then you could do whatever you want and create whatever you want. That sounds so good. It sounds so unrealistic while you're inside this prison, this hell realm that tortures you. And it's just like sometimes even doing the basic things in life can just tire you out, It'd be some of the most simplest things in life that can get annoying, that can get tiring, that can get repetitive, and waking up every day, going to the same location, being around the same people, doing the same routine. That routine becomes boring. That routine becomes a prison in its own self, doing that routine. Like a lot of us want to go on adventure. Like my soul, it yearns for adventure. It yearns for a journey, like Final Fantasy. It yearns for a journey. It yearns for something new. It yearns for something that's true. It yearns for something that I can't see or I can't put into words. And it's like a puzzle that is trying to be fixed. But it's hard to try to put together a puzzle when you don't really know where the pieces fit and you don't even know where the pieces are. And a lot of us, our souls have been broken for such a long time that it's hard for us to even put together confidence in ourselves because we've been broken down for such a long period of time dealing with negative events and negative situations and negative people, and it's just been relentless upon us. We've been forced to carry an entire campaign, an entire war on our own backs. So we're strong. Don't ever think you're weak if you're a guy in this position. You find yourself rejected from society. You find yourself never ever having girls. You find yourself not never ever having no money. You may not be the most handsome. You may be short. You may be whatever. And every girl that you have a crush on then absolutely despises you, you know? And then you hide in your world of video games and anime and food and slop and whatever, and the pain, it never goes away. There's always that hole in your heart. There's always that vortex that's strong like a war mech, and it's always inside of your heart, and it tears you apart. And I know the pain, man. I know the pain. It drove me insane, and it's crazy, man. We live in a very artificial world for real souls, meaning that our souls are real. This artificial world that, you got to wake up at this time, go here, you got to pay this bill, you got to do, it's just so structured like a prison. It's like a robotic routine. It's like a Hylic paradise. It's a paradise for NPCs. But people like us, we're like the main characters, the souls. The souls are the main characters. We have the divine spark. So being in a world that's so stagnant, and it's just, things have to feed on each other to survive and to survive and gain sustenance. It's brutal. If you look at life really, you see how nasty it is. Even if you go to an exotic restaurant and you get the nice rib bone steak, and it comes all nice and presented before you, and it's expensive, like a $75 or $115 steak, and they present it to you all nice, you have it medium rare, even though I can't eat stuff medium rare. My food have to be cooked. I don't like any type of blood or anything that look like blood in my food. No, thank you. I like my stuff cooked to the fullest, but to each their own, to each their own. But do you know where that steak came from? It came from a living, breathing being. Even though in the restaurant it looks nice and it's presented to you in a certain way, it's presented to you like a luxury. Really, it's just a piece of meat from a cow. Like if you go see a cow, if you take a big old cow and you watch it pass away, it looks disgusting. Especially how they need to neutralize the cow in order to gain the meat. You see that process, and it's very disgusting. But if you show people that process, then all of a sudden they lose their appetite. But that's where your food comes from. You see how this world is built on deception? If it makes something look pretty, even though it's ugly underneath, people will still buy it. Like, you have to trick people into the food, right? But I mean, it's not really tricking because we need food to eat. But what I'm saying is that the food that we eat usually comes from an animal that was once alive, that had its own thoughts and its own memories and its own family, whatever. I don't know if they have souls or not, but I know that, these animals sometimes have specific characteristics. And I know that they don't want to be turned to a hamburger or turned to a steak, but they have no say-so in that. And they're being farmed, just like we're being farmed for our eternal souls through negative energetic manifestational frequency. It's why these negative events and occurrences happen in our life. They're not accidents. It's not accident that certain people attack you. That's not accident that certain parasites find you. It's not an accident. It was done on purpose. And it was that specific person, that specific clinical obsession is exactly what the demiurge wants on you, to try to get you to stop preaching your truth, because your truth is wakening people up, which means that the demiurge realm is falling. So the demiurge is making sure people like me, they try to shut us up, they try to do this and that, and try to, it's all on purpose. If I was talking nonsense, no one would feel that, no one would care what you're saying. If I was talking nonsense, I would get 20 views and no one would even care, but the fact that I'm being real and people resonate with this, they know that I'm saying is real, this can attract good people and it can attract bad people, right? So it's crazy, but you got to understand, like, this world and the NPCs and the Hylics and the demiurge's agents, they don't like the truth. They don't like hearing the truth. And you got to understand that in this world, it's not just a one-day thing, a week thing, an hour thing. It's a every fucking second thing. You're going to be tormented and attacked. Yeah, you're going to have those little memories or those little moments of bliss and peace, and then next thing you know, they're going to be nothing but memories. Like those little tiny moments when you get your Jack in the Box, you get your McDonald's slop or whatever, you get your favorite food and you eat it and you feel happy. Then hours later, you got to crap it all out. You know what I mean? It's just like, you know what I mean? It's just ridiculous, right? Then you got to take a shower. Then you got to clean yourself. Then you got to brush your teeth. Then you got to do this. It's like, you see that process? It's like there's always a maintenance of your body, a maintenance of your system. Wouldn't an eternal loving God create perfection from the beginning? And wouldn't an eternal God wouldn't utilize flesh, you know, and blood and bone and all this? Wouldn't a God create a spiritual realm from a spiritual kingdom? And wouldn't a God wouldn't want to create negative energetic manifestational frequencies so you can produce loosh? Why would a God want you in fear and terror? Why would a God rule you with fear? Why would a God threaten to throw you in hell? Hellfire, hellfire, hellfire. Why is this God so focused on tormenting and torturing you? That's not a loving, caring being. If you were a God, would you rule like that? And if you would, that says a lot about you more than anything. You know, it means you're one of the demiurge's agents. If you become a god and you can do anything, and the thing you choose is to make people put people through hell. That's evil. You have power. You have a responsibility when you have power. You can't bring something or put something into an existence and then you trap it and soul trap it and you murk it and you tell it and you lie to it and say that it's nothing but flesh, blood, and bone, where you know where it comes from. You know? It's just the cynicism and the coordinated cynicism of this whole fucking world, man. Let's take out the spiritual aspect. You know, 'cause I know not everybody likes that, right? But I don't give a fuck. I'm going to speak from my heart. But let's just go out the spirit world for a bit. Look into the physical. Look what we see. What is the main thing that happens in this world all the time? The powerful get more powerful. The weak get crushed and obliterated. The poor never become the rich, more than likely. It's like the system's designed that only specific people can get to certain economic stabilization fields, where everybody else has to be trapped in a certain type of tax bracket. And even when you raise your tax bracket, you got to pay taxes from your new tax bracket. So if you make $250,000, you got to pay $250,000 worth of taxes. If you make if you make $1 million, well, now you're in the $1 million club, right? So now you got to pay millions. Now you got to pay some taxes on $1 million that you made, you know. And then you got billionaires that make billions, and then they don't pay no taxes at all. So how the fuck does that work? And then they got tricks and booby traps and all types of schemes that only the rich of the rich of the rich elite know. They can get them out of paying taxes or paying as so little taxes that is basically nothing to them. Meanwhile, average working Americans, average working people, they have to pay taxes out the yin yang. And these taxes become just ridiculous because they tax you on everything, man. You know, somebody was telling me that in their damn car, to use an app in their car, they got to pay some money for it. And I'm like, what the fuck? You know, like, you already paid for the car. Now you got to pay for additional services on top of that. It's ridiculous. You know, like, these cars are becoming more and more robotic. Like, back in the 1970s, you could just change your own, like, internal, you can just change your engine or change specific parts of your car. And now these newer models are making it harder and harder for you to just change the parts yourself. Like, they're designing it that way, and they're designing it to break too. It's like, what's it called? Planned obsolescence or something like that. I think I said it right. Where they design items and things to break. You know, like, that's wrong. Why would you create things that are designed to break? Because to them, it's like, well, if it breaks, I mean, people have to keep buying it, which makes us more money. And it's like, damn, this is just crazy. You know, I understand, like, you know, we all need money, but these are from billionaire companies that are being so greedy. You know. And these companies are showing you that they don't want you to have any power. I mean, look what Sony's doing. Look at it. If you see what Sony's doing with the diskless thing, and they're doubling down, and now people are releasing Grand Theft Auto 6 leaks. And I think I need to finish Grand Theft Auto 5. That reminds me. I got to finish Grand Theft Auto 5. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I got to finish that. I just been sitting on that for years because I've been freaking depressed. And then all this crap happened, and I really got depressed, you know? But I got to finish Grand Theft Auto 5. But those Grand Theft Auto 6 leaks are happening because people are unhappy with Sony's decision. And they're unhappy with not being able to actually own your games. When you pay about $50, yeah, right. Video games haven't been $54.11 in a long time. That's how you know I'm old. Like, who remembers when a video game was $54.11 at one time? Who remembers that? $54.11. At least in my GameStop in my area that I was at. This was back in the 90s, though, in the early aughts. But anyway, I think in that GameStop, I used to use all those discounts and codes too, because so it could be a little cheaper, you know. But I remember games used to be like $49.99, $59.99, And then like the deluxe and stuff like that would be like $69.99. It never crossed the $100 range like that unless it's like some super special stuff. But now these games are just so expensive. But it goes beyond video gaming. It's everything that you see in our life that's trying to gain control over us. It's trying to limit our control. Little by little, we're getting little rights taken from us. And before we know it, we're going to be serfs. We're going to be servants from a total robotic, heartless, artificial intelligence-driven system that's designed to suppress you. It's designed to make you feel weak. Everything in this world, everything in this life. Look at it, man. Look what you're going through in your own personal life, in your own personal business that you're going through, man. I know it's hard. You have no one to talk to. You're going crazy. You may have sexual frustration. You may have money problems. You got to figure out how you're going to pay your rent. You got to figure out this, that, and this. Like you have nowhere to go. That creates anxiety. And these evil beings or whatever are feeding off of this crap. And I'm tired of it, man. I'm tired of us always having to battle, always having to watch our backs, always being on guard, always, just, having to maintain. It gets really annoying because a lot of us, all we want to do is just simply, we really just want to simply be happy and peaceful. All this extra drama, all this extra problems, we don't want none of that crap. A lot of us are hikikomori. Us hikikomori, we be in our own rooms doomed, listening to Rehab Room, right? You know what I mean? Or just be in our rooms in our own little worlds, watching anime, creating anime, working on books, working on music, working on novels, writing, doing things that are inspirational and creative. A lot of us, we want to be able to build, we want to be able to lead, we want to be able to proceed into something more glamorous than the life that we have right now, because the life that we have right now is just not sufficient. It's not effective. It's not conducive to a healthy, happy mind. You need a girl to hug you. You do. Don't let nobody tell you nothing different than that. Don't let nobody try to trick you and say, oh, you don't need that stuff, man. You just focus on something else. You can't focus on anything to that. How are you going to focus on something else? How are you going to focus on anything else if your freaking subconscious, your heart is desiring something? Once your subconscious or your heart really desires something, it makes it difficult to try to focus on anything else. It's just cope. All you're doing at that point is coping, and we have to find something. But the problem is, for people in our position, it's extremely difficult to find a girl, that's going to hold us down, and it's fucked. It's really messed up, bro. It's really messed up. Being a lonely man in 2026, being a man that doesn't have a girl in his life, being a man that, especially if you have talent, but you don't know how to get it off the ground, and it's like you're being sabotaged, you're being attacked, and you're just trying to just do your thing and mind your business, it's weird. It's a weird foundation to try to create, but we have no choice but to keep on doing it and marching through. I really wonder. I wonder how it would feel like to go into another world, into an anime world, into a world of what they would call fiction, into a world what they would call adventure, and just start my whole entire life over. Make me into a special legendary hero with special abilities, and give me all OP abilities. I want all overpowered abilities in an anime world, and let me just live my life there. I'd rather go there, wouldn't you? At least I would feel like I have some type of power or control in my life, where in this world it feels like shit is rigged. It feels like people got to those positions because they were meant to be there. Certain people, you're like, damn, how did that happen for him and it didn't happen for me? Right? And it's not just being jealous or being on some fuck shit. It's just like you're questioning it because you put the time and effort in. But if you haven't put the time and effort in and really grind, then you shouldn't complain. If somebody's cranking out videos every single day, and then somebody makes videos once every 2 weeks, and then you don't really care about it, then why are you mad at that person? That person's grinding every day, and then they're homeless. You have a home, you have a place, you got money in your account. This person don't got shit and they're grinding. That's why they're able to grind. They're still dumping it, pumping it out. So you can't really hate on that. You got to respect. You got to respect the grind. You can't be, that's one thing. You got to respect certain things, all right? But you live in a world where instead of respecting some people will just start being jealous, envious. They develop different types of hatred towards you, and you haven't done nothing to these people. You don't even know who these people even are. You don't even know of their existence, but they know of your existence. They seem to invest their time into your life. It's weird. You're not even a celebrity. Strange, isn't it? No. I know a lot of us, in our position, we have maybe family members or maybe other types of associates that once knew us when we were younger, and they question us, They question us because they look at us and they say, how come you're not married? How come you don't have children? How come you don't have a car? How come you don't have this? How come you don't have that? And it's like, well, number one, are you going to give me money for a car? Are you going to give me money for an apartment? Are you going to give me money so I can have these things and acquire them? If you're not going to give money to me, then why don't you shut the fuck up trying to judge me? That's just what it is. If you ain't about to help me, then shut the fuck up. It's just that simple, right? It's that simple. So just keep that in mind. But in this world, you're always going to have toxicity. Always. And is that the life that we really chose? Some people say, oh yeah, you chose this life, in your astral life. No, don't try to do that. Don't do that bull crap. I didn't choose none of this. This is a hell torment realm. I would have never chose the things that this life has put me through. See, do you see how this hell realm tries to gaslight you? You're the person that's being tormented and targeted and destroyed, and the world tries to say it's your fault. And you didn't do nothing. All you was just being born into existence, yet they blame you. That's the nature of the demiurge. That's the nature of the archons. They know they're the guilty ones that are responsible for all this evil, and yet they put the evil off on you, the ones that they're attacking. They'll attack you and scream out as they're attacking you. Sound familiar? They will attack you and say, ah, as they're attacking you. Do you see how wrong that is? As they're swinging their stick at you, let's say they get a stick from a tree or a branch or something, like back in the days, like you grew up like me, back in the days, we used to get whoopings with those branches and stitches and switches, especially if you had a grandmother that was from the South, you know what it is, we used to get whooped by switches and off trees. Yeah, it was bad back in those days growing up. Nowadays, I think there's laws against that. But back in our days, there was no laws, we used to get whoopings all the time, but this this chaotic world we find ourselves in, not only does it break your mind, but it wastes your time with all types of shit that doesn't really matter. Because if you think about it, all those years of going to school, getting a good job and paying rent, like, yeah, you get moments of happiness in your life and all that for certain people. But there's people that tried to go to college and they failed. There's people that tried to go to med school and they failed. Like we always hear the success stories. You never hear the stories about people that failed, And they promote those success stories as if anybody could do it. We tried. And we found out that the system was rigged. It's rigged against our own happiness. It doesn't want us to be happy. I don't know why. I don't know why the system doesn't want us to be happy. I don't know why the system wants us miserable. Nope. I do know why. Now I said all that. I was just trying to keep it as physical as possible for people that say, oh, well, I don't believe in that spiritual stuff. Okay. Now I'm done. So now you see why the bad stuff happens if you're trying to think physical. Now, let's go into the spiritual bit. What's the purpose of making this world worthless? What's the purpose of making us feel worthless? What's the purpose of making us nervous, making us anxious, making us scared? Because we produce negative energetic manifestational frequency called loosh. And I have to keep on repeating it because that's the truth. I'm going to repeat the truth until it's in your head, until you understand. Negative energetic manifestational frequency called loosh. You have to understand that, because when you're going through something in life, like, damn, why is this going on? Stop feeding it. Calm down, regulate your emotions. Understand that these beings are trying to feed off you. They're trying to take your energy and build off your energy. They're taking your energy, they're being parasites, and they're feeding off of you. Don't feed these parasites. They don't deserve your attention. They don't deserve you. They don't. Why would you bow down to somebody who already has it out for you? Why would you even interact or talk to a person like that? Why? This person already showed what they're about. If somebody's willing to do all that, you have no idea why. Why listen to any entity or beings that are not there for you? Why listen to any family member who doesn't like you? Why? Why listen to this family member who calls you a loser, yet they're on your channel watching all your videos? How are you going to call somebody a loser and a failure, yet you're watching their videos on their channel? And you're not just watching 2 or 3 minutes, you're watching this shit to 30 minutes in. But you don't like this person, but you're listening to their videos? Fucking weirdos. If you don't like somebody, why are you watching their videos? Leave them the fuck alone. If they're not bothering you, then leave them alone. Right? If nobody ain't bothering you, what gives you the right to bother somebody that ain't bothering you? That's why you gotta just avoid these parasites and these evil beings. And you gotta avoid them in your real life, man. Like negative people at your job, negative people you're around. It's better to just keep your distance because two frequencies don't match. So if you come with a positive frequency, you come with a positive frequency and they come with a negative frequency, they're going to misalign. It's going to create some type of stagnation, some static, and static creates friction, or friction and static or whatever. And that static and that friction, it's going to lead to an obliteration event. You know, it's going to lead to something bad going down, right? So always try to stay away from negative events and people and negative situations. Don't be pulled into their vortex of emotional irregularities. Instead, focus your mind on something that's positive and creative. You know, don't be jealous of nobody. Don't be envious of nobody. Just try to focus on yourself because that's all you can do. So sitting there being jealous of another man is not going to get you nowhere in life. So you have to build up your own thing and focus on yourself. I know a lot of us, we see these guys with these beautiful girls and sometimes we feel a certain way, but why? You don't know what's behind that. For anything, well, if anything, you know, they could break up tomorrow morning. You know, you see them in the cafe smiling, and then tomorrow morning they broke up somehow. She went in his phone and she found inside Chad's phone, Chad got 7 other girls he talking to, and then it hurts her heart, and she breaks up with Chad. And don't worry though, girls like that, give it a week and she'll be right back on her knees, ready to please for Chad. You know, because you know how females are when it comes to Chad. Chad can do no wrong. You know, Chad would cheat on them and they'll still come back because they low-key like that. They low-key like that Chad has the ability to get girls, you know, instead of like being with a good guy and he's not the best looking, and knowing that she is his only option. It doesn't make it as exciting for the female, you know, because it's like she knows that, you know, he even if he wanted to, he couldn't get another girl, right? So it's not, so, you know, it loses that. Interesting. Just these observations in life that you learn, man. And you learn about people when you get older. You learn that people have their own agendas, they have their own minds, they have their own perspectives, and you learn that a lot of people are evil. That's what you learn when you get older. You stop being so trusting to these negative people and these negative energetic vibrations. You start to learn that a lot of people, especially people in your own family, they don't really love you as much as you think. They don't really like you as much as they try to pretend, or some of them don't even try to pretend. You got family members that let people know that they don't like that person, right? And that there's beef and there's static. But then a lot of times there's always this little game of deception and trickery and trying to, you know, like a mask that's being worn. I don't know, man. I just wish that I wasn't really brought into this dimension. I wish that I was brought into an anime dimension. I wish I was brought into a cartoon world, into a world where truly there's adventure. Truly there's some type of life and vibrancy that's not tied to economics. It's not tied to this artificial world of hierarchy. You know, there's so much nuance, you know, when it comes to spirituality and what's really true and what's really not. We really don't know. But what we can know is that whatever created this, whatever made this, it never had our best interest, and it wants us to suffer. It wants us to pay for something that we had no hand in. Something wants us to suffer. Whether you believe in a demiurge or Gnosticism or not, you can't argue that something does want us to suffer. and something wants us miserable, and something doesn't want us in a position of power, wealth, and influence. You know, so let's take that in mind. You know, this world is absolutely brutal.